I'm going to ask Commissioner Alford to lead us in the pledge, and Commissioner Collins will bless us. And if you would, please stand. To the flag of the United States of America and the republic which is nation God.
Let us pray. Lord, we're thankful for the opportunity to gather today. We're thankful for the blessings and favor upon us. We pray that the words of our mouths would be acceptable and the meditations of our heart as well guide us in the discussions. Help us to do honorable in your eyes.
Amen. All right, going to our agenda first, I want to, you got a new face here on the Finance Committee. I want to welcome Commissioner Collins to the Finance Committee. Looking forward to working with you on here.
Didn't have a speech.
You're doing good. So far, so good. Welcome. Going to our agenda, and item number 3, report from the county mayor. Mayor Davis, you're recognized for as much time as you need.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Other than the amendments and what's on the agenda, the only thing I have is your credit card report. I'll hurriedly go through it, and you can ask questions if you have them. Fire department used 3 times, all good. Assessor used 5 times, all good. Sheriff department used 4 times, all good. Mayor's office used twice, all good. EMA used once, all good. And juvenile department 3 times, all good.
Any questions for the mayor? Seeing none.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Going back to our agenda, I'm going to change things a little bit. We have some guests with us today, and we'll get to the budget amendments afterwards. We have some guests here. Remember last month we started chatting about the opioid funding and kind of 2 parts to it. One, hear from those who received funding last year on how they did, and just basically a health and welfare check, if you will. And then we have some friends from CTAS that are going to help us going forward with process and bylaws and stuff that they've got from the state and from other counties. So we'll hear from them as well. If you guys, Sarah, okay, sorry. If you guys are going to stay, then I'm going to let them go ahead and do their presentations, and that way you get the benefit of hearing that, and then you guys be recognized afterwards, if that's okay. All right. So I believe you guys chatted with Lori on the timing and that kind of stuff, so I'll just get, we'll hear from ATS The Bridge first, Boys and Girls Club second, Foundation House third, and TheCaringPlace fourth. So you guys will just make your way up as accordingly, and we'll start with ATS The Bridge. Zandra, how are you? Good to see you.
I have to put this down just a little bit. Well, I'm Zandra Welch, and this is Jared Waldrop. We reverse roles for this today. First of all, thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come and report, and for entrusting us with the opioid abatement disbursement funding in the amount of $65,000. As you may already be aware, our focus for these funds and what we do best, we feel in our community, is education and awareness. These things are a must as we continually work on prevention. In the past year, we have reached more than 25,000 plus individuals, with most of these being students in our own community. We have done this through many face-to-face presentations in our schools, as well as our churches, Rotary clubs, the chambers, associated industries, Cleveland Utilities, and Olin, just to name a few. We have been asked to share what we do here in our community by many counties across the state. And most recently, we were invited to speak at the annual Juvenile Court Services Conference, where we presented to 95 juvenile and family court judges and their staff. A few of the highlights that we've done with the monies thus far are, this year, with the help of the monies received, we were able to start our K through 2nd grade program in our school system. With the support of our county director of schools, Dr. Linda Cash, we were able to introduce Tim B Talks About Addiction for the younger students. This program has been a huge success, allowing us to start the conversation at an early age. We've already scheduled many Timby and Lammy presentations for the school year. We've been able to send local school counselors to a BEST training. with our hope to bring the training to all of our counselors. This is grief training for students. This was so important this past year as we had one elementary school in our county to lose 2 parents to an overdose. They were both from different families. This happened in 1 week's time and affected 4 students in that school. This training was very important during that time. Jared and I have attended numerous educational conferences this spring and summer to educate us on current drug trends in communities around our state and in our nation and among our youth. We also learned about other programs that communities are doing to create a drug-free environment. And we have found that what we are doing well. We are way ahead in a lot of areas, so that makes us super excited, especially being embedded in our school systems. Our Youth Ambassador program has grown by leaps and bounds. We now have over 200 high school students in our local schools that have committed to stand up and live a drug-free life. These students are highly motivated, energetic, and are not afraid to take a stand and encourage their peers to live drug and vape-free. Some of these ambassadors travel with us to middle schools, talk to these students, as well as appear in our highly viewed ambassador videos. We partnered with our local prevention coalition and hosted an overdose awareness event where we gave away free medication lock boxes to those who needed to lock up their meds. We have introduced 2 different campaigns in our community in the past year, Stand Up and the most recent one, Stronger Without It. Our billboards and videos have been well received because we are utilizing our youth in our community, which is our next generation, and empowering them to take a stand. And upcoming in the month of October, which is Drug Awareness Month and Red Ribbon Month, we are kicking off our One Pill Can Kill campaign as Jared will begin a strong education on illicit pills and the risks of fentanyl. Red Ribbon Week is the last week in October, and we have already over 24 presentations that have been scheduled during that week. We are partnering with our schools and clubs within our schools and doing different events with them. The National DEA Drug Take Back is October 26th, and we will also again be providing free drug lock boxes to lock up their meds. In January, one of our biggest events that we're looking forward to, we have partnered with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, their Dangerous Drugs Task Force, and our local task force, along with law enforcement, to host a community-wide educational conference on current drug trends in our community and among our youth. And as you can see, we did a little spreadsheet for you, if I can find my own, that shows where what's highlighted is what is coming up, and you will see we have already, we started out with $65,000, which was a little bit more than what we requested, but we have used, as of this week, the $46,584.55 with a remaining balance of $18,000. And the things that are highlighted that are coming up are where those monies will be used. Now, we had every penny budgeted when we requested this money. The Timby and Lambie program has been such a huge success in our community that the lady that wrote the book, and as we now have a Drug Endangered Children Alliance in our community, they donated 100 Timby sets for us and 100 Lambie sets. So we are going to have a little excess money that we would still like to keep and use in different areas. So that was new to us when we got the Lambies just presented to us 2 weeks ago. So, any questions?
Thank you very much. I do have one quick question that I'll open it up for everybody. The K through 2 program,
Yes.
What was the name of that?
So it's Timby Talks About
Timby.
Addiction. And now
that's-
Lambie is coming out, and Lambie talks about addiction as well as prevention. And this is done so well. If I can just elaborate a little
Please.
bit, we have 2 retired educators. We took this to them, and one of them is a Bradley County teacher that just recently retired, and I said, we need to teach this, and please tell us how. Please help us. So she came up with the most awesome program. It's reading a book, sitting the kids down, talking to them, and then we talk about choices. We've been able to introduce a vape into that program about things we share, things we don't share, prescriptions, what that means when it has your name on it, and what it means when we don't open it if it doesn't have your name on it. So it's been so well received that Dr. Cash did allow us to introduce it as a pilot program into 4 schools. But last year, by the end of the school year, everybody was wanting Timby and Lammy. And we have life-size ones and we have little ones. And we actually had posted this on our social media, and we had a counselor call us that is part of a grant through Centerstone. And she had been using Timby for a while because she does a small group with students who have parents in addiction. And so she asked us, how did we get a hold of all of those? And I was able to take her 12 that day, and she could take the little Timbies and the pack, the book, the coloring book, and everything, send them home with those students that were in that class. She was super appreciative of that. So that's just a little note about how Timby's already been effective.
I appreciate that. Any questions? Any questions over there?
Anything?
No, thank you very much. I also want to thank you for the itemization or the breakdown. I don't think there's going to be any reason to, with the 18,000, you still have plans to use that. So
Oh, yeah, we do.
thank you very much for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, ATS the Bridge, and now the Boys and Girls Club. Britt, did I say that right? I hope I did. Apologize for that. Hi, how you doing?
Good morning. My name is Jessica Burns. I am the Director of Grants of the Boys and Girls Club of the Ocoee region. I have Mariah with me. She is our facilitator of our Smart Moves program that we were able to hire her for this program, thanks to your support. I want to take a moment to thank the committee not only for giving us a chance to speak about the funding today and the impact that it's had in Bradley County, but also to express how grateful we are for your support. We have real concerns of the youth in Bradley County. Right here in Tennessee, 7,000 teens are addicted to opioids, and our state ranks 3rd in the nation for drug abuse. These numbers are alarming, and that's why we're thankful to have Bradley County as a partner in helping tackle the issue here. The Smart Moves program is all about helping youth in Bradley County see the dangers of opioid use and understand why prevention is so important. We focus on interactive lessons that cover the risks of substance use and healthy decision-making skills. The program keeps kids engaged through hands-on activities and field trips that really enforce the lessons. We've also had special guests like Bradley County Sheriff's Department that's come to talk to our kids about the risks of opioids. Teaching prevention is crucial. It can really make the difference between addiction or losing a life and helping kids build a successful future. Your funding has allowed us the ability to hire a part-time instructor who travels to all 6 of our Bradley County sites. Because of your support, our partnership has reached 516 students so far this year. Our main goal is to build this program for long-term sustainability, and we want to make sure it keeps making an impact even after the funding runs out. To be good stewards of the resources that you've provided, we're holding training sessions for our existing staff at our Bradley County sites. This way we can equip them with the knowledge and the tools that they need to continue running this program. We've received really heartfelt feedback from students and parents. We know that this can be a very uncomfortable subject. Kids often shy away from this, and parents don't know the signs or how to approach these tough conversations. But this program has really opened the door. The kids have asked deep questions and really soaked in the lessons. Parents have shared how important this program is for raising awareness to an issue that hits so close to home. Along with expanding our reach, we've really focused on making sure the program is sustainable. Your funding has given us leverage to strengthen our efforts. And with partnerships with Boys and Girls Clubs of America and the Tennessee Alliance, we're actively exploring more funding opportunities. We truly appreciate the support we've received from Bradley County, and we're grateful that you chose us to receive this funding and that you guys are a part of helping us with the solution. We're excited to make an even greater impact in the coming months and to help more young people stay informed and resilient against substance abuse. Thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Real quick, on the part-time person, are they solely reliant on this funding?
Yes, that
All right.
has fully covered her salary.
Any other questions for our guest? I'm sorry, yeah, Commissioner Slater, please.
Thank you for being here today. Could you send Mrs. Moultrie a sheet that shows the amount that you received, how much is used for salaries, and how much is going directly to the program?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Alford, Commissioner Collins. Mr. Alford, please.
The Boys and Girls Girls Club and AT the Bridge, do y'all get a lot of the same kids? Or do
We-
y'all have any way of knowing whether you get them or not?
We don't. I'm sure that we serve a lot of the same kids as they're in the school systems as well. Sandra?
We have millions and millions of people watching.
Oh, I'm sure. In some grants, we are actually written into with the Boys and Girls Club, so we do some presentations specifically if they ask us to, but theirs is more of an after. Is that correct? Right. And ours is while they're in the school, so there is some overlapping, but it would be hard to tell. Very
Thank-
little of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Collins, Chairman, and none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank- Next is the Foundation House. Is it Susan Burns?
Suzanne.
Suzanne, I apologize. Thank you.
That's okay, it's very common. We are so grateful for the support of this commission. We have, we wrote the grant requesting $25,000 is what we received to enable us to serve that many more moms through our residential program. We're the only residential program for pregnant and parenting women in critical situations within 150 miles. We knew we went into this with the understanding that it would only cover 1 full year that was guaranteed, and so we did not add any staff under this specific grant. That only covered things like additional food, additional transportation, additional housing supplies, and client-related materials for the additional clients that we would be able to house in our home. We have already, to date, so far this year, we have received well over 500 calls to our offices. In April, we were awarded a huge state grant. It's a 3-year grant for over $790,000, which will enable us to add additional housing. It did allow us to add additional staffing. And so for the current house, the house that's here in Bradley County, we were able to utilize some of the additional staff members that this additional grant covers to fund the work that we've been doing under this grant. And so we were really grateful for that, because as we have worked with these additional moms and these additional children that have come in, what we are seeing is that the severity of the situations, the severity of the mental illness, the severity of the brain damage that has occurred because of the drug usage in these moms is far more severe than what we had anticipated. And so we have been able to pool multiple grants through the course of this year to increase not only our staffing, but our education as well. We have sought out intentionally as much training in neurobiology, in addiction research, as well as in resiliency and in building better brains for ourselves, for our women, as well as for our children. And so your grant has helped us not only to serve the additional 6 moms throughout the house that we had intended to, but also to really serve these other 500 with wisdom, with grace, with the ability to take them to detox programs and get them into rehab treatments, with the ability to provide food and other resources to some of the non-residential clients as well. And so we've been really blessed by the county commission to be able to support more and more moms in crisis throughout our county. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm going to state the obvious. There's more need out there than we have funding for, and I hate that.
Far too true.
But I appreciate that you guys do the best you can with what, funding we do have available.
Yes.
Any questions, Commissioner Albert, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Slater, please?
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
If you two could send Mrs. Moultrie a list of how you've spent the $25,000, how it's broken down, and if you have any money left, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Caring Place, Corinne. I'm not getting everybody's name wrong today, so.
That's okay. We'll forgive you. So, but thank you for the opportunity to share about the impact that your partnership has made in the use of these funds through the connecting with us at the Caring Place. We have used the funding to help individuals transfer to residential care centers. So instead of remaining unsheltered here in our local community, they were able to connect to long-term care centers. We were able to establish stable housing so that families could be reunified, and also to help build economic mobility through life skill training opportunities. To date, we have assisted 20 individuals with the creation and implementation of their future story action plans to help maintain their recovery and increase that upward economic mobility. I do want to point out that our numbers will always be lower because of the one-on-one and in-depth work that we are doing with the individuals. We want to make an investment within their lives and make sure that the changes that they're making are stable changes that will stay with them. To date, we have used $29,641.77, and we have $20,358.23 remaining. I do want to give a quick note of explanation, and I have to just confess that I forgot to delete a row. That makes things confusing on my report. That's me. So the amount available up at the top and the balance, those are different because the amount available is what our case management team sees and does not include the life skill training and case management service funds. That is so that we can prioritize the support payments that we are making. So if, for example, we have a support payment come through that we're going to go over, but they are a recipient and enrolled in the opioid fund, then I would actually look at reallocating that to our general fund so that we could prioritize that spending for those individuals. So that is why there is that apparently discrepancy, which is not really a discrepancy. So but I do apologize for that with not including that explanation on your written report. We do have approximately 40% of the fund remaining, but we have increased our partnership with Recovery Court. We have 5 individuals in our current cohort who are going to be recipients of this funding. In addition, we knew that the holidays actually typically present a time that families struggle a little bit more, higher heating cost, just the strain of the holidays, and so we actually have budgeted for that. So, and you can see with the amounts of September being where it was, the 5,000 in August, 9,000 September, and then of course that's the first week of October represented there. We do anticipate spending the full amount by the end of the grant term. There will be no issue with that. And while the reports on the numbers are really crucial and necessary for good stewardship, it's also important to remember what the numbers represent. Each of the dollars there is an investment into the lives of a neighbor who's working to build stability. It's a neighbor who's a valued member of this community. And each dollar is an investment into a future story that is being written and lived by individuals with gifts and talents that our community needs. And so as such, I have with me today Kimberly Wilcoxon. She is actually a graduate of our Getting Ahead program and is part of a recipient of the funding that we received. She, as part of her plan, is working on her leadership skills and development, and she has graciously agreed to come and share a little bit in her own words of the impact the program has had on her. And I felt it was important to give that opportunity so that in her own words. So I'm going to kind of turn the mic to her as we wrap.
Very good. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Wilcoxon. I'm a current participant in the Recovery Court program. I'm 14 months into recovery. I attended the cohort 22 of the Getting Ahead program. I became passionate about what we were learning and wrote my future story, which I'm trying to accomplish every day. I became passionate and wanted to know how I could further my involvement and asked what I could do. I was given the opportunity to co-facilitate cohort 23, and for cohort 24, I'm the lead facilitator. It's something that I'm passionate about, helping people create their future stories that they can really make actionable goals and accomplish.
Thank you again for giving Kimberly and I the opportunity to share about the impact that your investments made. So as Kimberly said, she is now our lead facilitator and training another group of individuals, some of which are receiving this funding. And she didn't mention this because she, I guess, doesn't think how big a deal it is, She also does the data entry for the attendance of that class, and it is a beautiful blessing to me.
I
So, and she loves it. So, so we have loved giving her the opportunity to come in and improve her computer skills and her data entry so as well.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you have to go to the mic.
Sorry, the Caring Place and the Getting Ahead program has changed my life. It's made me more financially stable and given me a purpose.
And that's what we have.
That's
Any
right. Hey, let me ask you one quick question, if you don't mind. Not to get into your world or anything, but how did you find out about the Caring Place?
I started as a volunteer,
Okay.
and then I found out about the Getting Ahead class and was very interested, and we went from there.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions for them? I appreciate the itemization and the breakdown. Very much will enter that in there.
All right.
Thank you. All right, so if our friends from CTAS Sarah will start making their way up, hopefully you guys will stay and listen to what CTAS has got for us as far as going forward.
All right, sorry, I'm gonna try to fit my laptop up here too for notes. So my name's Sarah McCall.
Sarah?
I am the substance use response consultant for East Tennessee. Like me, there's one of me in Middle Tennessee as well as West Tennessee. And what we substance use response consultants do are provide counties with free technical assistance, whether that be helping them figure out how to set priorities for spending opioid settlement money, or helping them understand what payment projections they can anticipate or what payments they should have received. Another big thing we do is help counties establish a formalized community grant process. So all in all, we are totally focused on this opioid settlement money for the next, for its duration of 18 years. It's a long commitment, so we want to make sure we're here to help answer any questions and provide that technical assistance along the way. And today I came here to talk more about the community grant process because, like I said, this is 18 years we're looking at. So any structure you can have in place will be beneficial for the sustainability of spending these funds. I will say in my region, I've supported 7 counties in formalizing their community grant process. 2 are in progress of formalizing a community grant process. And it's working out so far very well. I've been around for 1 year, so I can at least speak on that 1 year. Typically, we recommend that counties, well, I guess first I will discuss the materials that you all have received because we've developed a suite of materials for this community grant process. Yes.
Did everybody get the opioid settlement overview for counties document? Adam, do you have it? Yeah. I think, which one are you going to go over? This one?
Oh, I was going to go over
this one?
just the range of materials y'all have.
Okay. I just want, if you were going to go over a document, I just wanted them to have it
I'll
in
let
front
you
of
know when you need to refer to those graphs.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention the materials we have in place to support a community grant process for counties to implement. It's plug and play for the most part. Of course, counties can change what they need to change about the materials we have to fit the needs of your county. But we've included an RFP, so request for proposals when it comes time for you to announce that proposals will be accepted. We have an application. We have a budget template. We have contracts, reporting templates. We have quite a list of materials available at your disposal to continue to have community grants accepted on a year-to-year basis. What we recommend is when community grants are formalized, having the grant term be 1 year, because when it goes beyond 1 year, it becomes difficult to know whether or not the funding that you've promised will be there in the future because of things like payments changing and our payments projections. There's a lot of scenarios in which payments could change down the line. So going from by a year-to-year basis with these contract terms is definitely recommended. There's several types of grant models that you could use, whether that's providing money up front, providing money along the way. And reporting, that's a big piece of the puzzle. Understanding the success of these projects as they are happening. So we have reporting templates where you can track specific metrics and ask questions along the way to make sure that these funds are being used in the most effective of ways. So, I want to pause here, and I just want to ask you all if you have any questions about, formalizing a community grant process. If there's an interest there, I'm just curious to know your thoughts.
So I'll start. Obviously, we want to do it right. If there's a county out there that's knocking it out of the park, then and we can copycat, we're not above it. But I'm assuming that the comptroller's office is going to be eventually auditing all this.
They will. They will. So having this documentation in place, showing that you're doing your due diligence, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, will be beneficial for these audits.
So is there certain things that they're looking for?
They want to make sure that the funds are in the right accounts. So you have money coming in from the state OAC, through Edison. That should be placed in a very specific account. And then you have funds coming in from the national settlements through Brown and Greer, which should be placed in a separate account. That's number one. That's what they'll look for. Number two, they'll want to make sure that all decisions made and all funding allocated has been approved by county commission. So having those meeting minutes available, as well as tracking what decisions have been made. And when it comes to the payment schedule, I will say with these state funds, the abatement funds, there is a timeline. For every payment you receive, you have 2 years to allocate. So 2 years for county commission to approve decisions made for that total funding. And then you have another 2 years to spend that money. So a total of 4 years to spend it, meaning the check's written and it's out there to those agencies who've been designated as recipients.
So one of the things that we've done so far, and we're open to change, is we have a certain amount of money, and we go through our budget year, July 1 to the following year, June. If money comes in during the year, then we just get ready for the next budget or next cycle, so to speak.
Yes, I would recommend always using funds from the previous year.
Right. That's what.
To allocate and to make decisions with.
But we have, out of the total amount that we have, there's the mayor's office and the finance director will pretty much have an amount. But during our budget process, there are certain organizations or entities or internal to, the drug court, for example, that we've committed to every year. So I wouldn't call it a pecking order, but a priority. I mean, they're going to get funded, and then, the drug court. I can't remember the others. There's a couple of them. Drug deputies, I believe, something. And then after that, whatever's left over, then we meet with organizations who are doing what they do. So some of it is going to be year to year already, quote unquote, committed through our budget cycle or through our budget process. And then this part right here where we talk to organizations that do good things once a year. That's kind of what we've decided to do, but willing to change.
Oh, no, I think it sounds like you all have a good process in place for continuing to allocate funding to those organizations that you've dedicated funding to. So just making sure you're keeping account of the funding that hasn't been spent yet, that hasn't been allocated, and then reserving that for a community grant process, which, the projects that you all have funded, fantastic. I loved learning about them. And, these are kind of projects we want to prioritize funds with. So it's a matter of having structure in place to open up an application process for agencies across the community to apply, and then having just a structured timeline each year to rely on, so each year that your money is going to be allocated and spent by a certain time. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's probably something we need to tighten up on. I think we're maybe a little behind this year than we were from last year, but not far. I think it was about this time last year that we were in this process. But as far as the scoring and the formality and the grant application, all that kind of stuff, that's probably something we need to chat a little bit more and find out what you recommend on that, because I think we heard the good stories. We have good relationships with
Yeah.
these organizations, but I don't know if it was as formal as it could be, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense as, you know,
It was
in
our
these
first year.
yeah, in these beginning years, we've seen this happen across counties where, hey, you know, agencies, they know about the money and they submit proposals, and proposals are accepted on a as needed basis, right? And then after a while, these formalized grant application processes are usually developed. And we do have scoring rubrics in place for groups to assess and vet applications. And I will say, my agency is able to provide a higher level of service to help score those applications, to provide our recommendations to present to that board or that body that's making those decisions. So if needed, that's something that we're happy to do. We really are here to provide whatever service is needed in order to make sure that you all feel confident in in your money and it being spent in effective and meaningful ways.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. Any questions for our guest?
I would just
Commissioner Collins.
I would just ask, are there significant pitfalls or red flags that you've experienced or seen in other counties or systems that you would suggest to us to avoid?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it is, although it seems taxing, having a quarterly reporting requirement of agencies to submit progress made, barriers experienced, metrics that they've achieved. So you can assess along the way how well this funded project is doing to then determine if it should be prioritized for continued funding that next year. Also, I would say we either recommend, when it comes to the payment model, doing the grant model where the money is just provided up front, or doing a kind of a pay-as-you-go plan, providing half of those funds up front, then another half 6 months down the line after reporting's been received. Some projects have received a reimbursement model. Those are agencies, though, that have the money up front. So if you do a reimbursement model, that serves as a barrier for many smaller agencies doing great work to pursue projects because they just don't have the funding. So we recommend grant model or pay-as-you-go, if that makes sense.
And that's what we did.
Oh, yes, great. What else? Those are the two that come to mind. Yeah, those are the two big ones I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. I would say, depending on, you know, how the turnout of a formalized grant process that first year, we've worked with a few counties who are now at the point of opening up their second cycle. So they've chosen to prioritize new projects versus those reoccurring projects to make sure that this money is getting to a diverse range of stakeholders fairly.
Okay. Any questions? You have anything? Mr. Alford? Adam, you have anything? Yeah, we'll get. So I guess we'll get your contact information, and Lori Mortree, our assistant, will contact you. We're going to take you up on pretty much all your advice and guidance. Where we're at right now today was to hear the success story, so to speak, and then get ready to formalize this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really set any timelines, so to speak. I would hope that we can get everything organized by the beginning of the year in January 25 and start the process at that point in time.
Okay, great.
And use a calendar year as kind of our year, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I do want to say one thing about the timeline.
Please.
So on your fact sheet, it's double-sided. There's a bar graph. It's green. The 2024 or 2023 payment, that money needs to be allocated in full by March 2025. So anything that you all haven't used from that payment in 2023, you know, should be prioritized. in these coming months as we formalize this grant process. That's just something I want to make sure you all understand before I walk out this door.
So in 2023, we, according to this, and I'm looking at this
Yes.
right here, 460,000 and some change. All that money has been appropriated.
Great. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Whether or not it's been spent or not,
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's you have 2 more years to say that
Yeah.
check's been cut.
luckily we're pretty good at
Yeah, you're
getting
doing
the
good.
money out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no, like I said, you've heard from them, there's more need than there is funding. And that brings me, I guess, to one of the things, being the, the finance committee and the full commission, we're always looking for the biggest bang for the buck, how we can best, as you said, more efficiently use funding. But as you heard, sometimes you have to invest at the individual level. You're not trying to go out to the masses. I mean, you are, but sometimes, like in their case, it's a few individuals who get really good help.
Yeah.
So it's not always apples to apples, orange on
Right.
as far as the number. I mean, if obviously in the perfect world, you can knock out this completely, but organizations that concentrate on individuals, I think, are just as important as those that are, get a auditorium with 20,000 people in it. Right?
We completely agree. It's the quality of service that's being provided. It's a quality over quantity, and in my opinion, and the amount of funding you're getting within this 18-year period is not enough to eradicate this issue. So how can you make the best impact with what you have? And if that's changing the lives of 6 women each year, at a recovery residence, and that's fantastic. And, I think so far these projects working across prevention with youth and then also focusing on these various recovery assistance needs, it's a great range.
So we actually talked about that. We have those that are in the education and getting ahead of them before somebody else does. And then those who got themselves in a situation and need recovery. So you got the prevention piece and you got the recovery piece.
And you're already funding the drug court, which is a great cause as well.
And
Great
juvenile
expense.
drug court as well. That's who I was thinking about.
So yeah, we are here to help
But-
you identify any opportunities, and make sure that the funding's out the door in a effective and structured way.
So with the counties that you work with, just overall, no specific numbers, how many of the counties, have decided to form a committee of civilians, professionals in this industry, so to speak, versus those that use county commissioners for the committee to accept and review and award the funding?
It's hard to say because I can only account for the counties I've engaged with, which I would say I've engaged with maybe a little less than 20 counties at this point. I would say the majority have chosen to formalize opioid boards of civilians because this is a time-intensive process throughout certain times of the year, especially if you choose to open up community grants. So having those stakeholders at the table who understand, given the sectors that they work in, whether it be recovery, treatment, the health department, EMS, they see what's going on, so they have an opportunity to prioritize, in a way that might be a little bit more time sensitive than having to talk to these agencies to figure out what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So it takes out a little bit of that time. And I haven't heard of, honestly, I haven't heard of many county commissioners choosing to take on this responsibility. At the end of the day, regardless, it's that county commission is still the decision-making body. But rather than doing the work and also, allocating the funds, they receive the proposals, and then decide from there.
Okay. Well, I will be getting with you in the next week or two and chatting with you about some other things. I mean, this opioid money is also at the state level. The state is issuing grants as well, and how to consider that and all that, and formalizing the application and the the, what's the word I'm looking for? The scoring system and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't think we probably could use some help on that quite a bit, amongst other things. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we have scoring templates that we've modified to be even more effective than they were last year. So we're happy to shepherd that process of applying a scoring system.
Very good. Any questions for Sarah? Commissioner Alford, Mayor Davis? Thank you very much for coming down and see us today. We'll talk soon.
Yes, I'm gonna pass you a business card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or to Lori. All right, thank you guys very much you're more than welcome to stay and watch us go through budget amendments, which I know will absolutely change your lives forever. But if not, we'll see you soon. You'll be hearing from us soon, yeah. All right, going back to the budget amendments, budget number 1, as you can see, Bradley County Schools, chatted with Ellen the other day, and if it's okay with the committee, in the interest of time, all the budget amendments from the schools 1 through 6, pages 2 through 24, are all grants that the school systems are receiving. So if it's okay, we'll do them kind of we do service render, and because there are grants coming in that they're recognizing the money and appropriating those, if that's okay. I'm looking for not, okay. So we'll take those all as one motion, and okay, a resolution. All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 absent. That takes us to page 25. So we'll scoot on down. Page 25. Okay. And this is, I'm on, as it is written on the page 25. On your PDF reader, it's probably page 26. It's Finance Committee. They're decreasing the fund balance to $17,525.50. This is the money for the shock gloves or electric gloves, whatever you want to call them. Do I have a motion to accept? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. And there you see the itemization and the invoice and all the supporting documentation from the sheriff's office. Takes us to the next budget amendment on page 29, as it is written on the document. Finance Committee, $22,500. They're decreasing the fund balance. This is for, the sports study. But Mayor, this was, I thought was coming out of 172. Is that?
You've increased it 12.5, so instead of increasing it 12.5 in the 179, when you get to page 39, I'm putting it all in ARP, and I'll explain why with another amendment when it comes up. But at the end of the day, all of it will be in ARP, not 172.
Okay. So we're going to use ARP money instead of community development for this sports study of 22.5. Very good. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. I think I know what he's talking about. Going on to the next one is still with Finance Committee, decreasing the fund balance in 172 of $125,000. This is our share of the Duracell pilot project. That's the road that the people can cross Mouse Creek.
True. And that is occurring now, but a failure on our part is we never did budget this resolution when you approved it some time ago. And it is getting done now, so it's going to need to be paid soon. So this is amending it, putting it in the 172, but I'm taking all that sports study out so that it leaves somewhat of a fund balance in 172.
Yeah, I figured, okay. Who is overseeing that? Is it,
The city's
IDB?
doing the project,
Okay.
and at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 commitment. They've asked me about sending a check for this amount, and I said, when you get the work done and it's time to pay the bills, send me 50% of the bills and I will send it to you. So, I figured by the time they did that, you guys would have amended it and I'd have a budget to pay it from. But it's really up to 125. It's up to 250 is what the
Yeah, so
estimate
one
was at the
twenty-five
time.
from us and 125
Right.
from the city
That-
for, and
That's what that resolution I passed around tells you, is that we committed
yeah,
to 50% of it.
this is like 2 or 3 years old.
It
but,
is.
Mr. Collins, if you're familiar with this project,
Man.
I saw when I drove there the other day that they had already cleared moving dirt at least. But from what
You know, and this is
somebody
to
asked me
pay for
about it, it's
the electrical. There's gonna be
it's gonna be like what's over here by Lee, the little blinking lights when they cross the road. or
yeah, and it
something.
will change if somebody is crossing with trucks, because they're gonna have trucks going across the road there. Hopefully, it will stay clear most of the time, but when there is need for it to change red to stop traffic, it will. That's what's being installed.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and second on this? Do I have a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 and one absent. Moving on to the next budget amendment, page 31, as it's written on the document, and decreasing the fund balance out of the general fund of 30,000. This is for legal fees. This is all the deductibles from the lawsuit. So I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussions, Mayor?
Just want to mention on this one, this is one that we try to never bring to you. We're lowering the fund balance in general fund. But that class action lawsuit accumulated the 5,000 over several years, and we get a bill for it after the fact, and so this is the only way we could pay that bill. So you are taking money from the fund balance, and you're probably going to say a year from now at the request of the mayor, it's the only way to do it at this point.
And then it was 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000.
And that's
a lot of
what's
deductibles
attached.
that are being added up.
Right.
So
At the end of the day, we fared well. They did honor it over a period of time instead of one big one, but then they bill us sort of after the fact, after all that's over with and done and behind us. And of course, it was never budgeted, so that's what we're doing now, is paying the what do you call the 5,000, the deductibles over a very huge class action lawsuit settlement.
All right. Any further discussion? Thank you, Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 yeas and 1 absent. Moving on to the next budget amendment. There you see the invoices of the deductibles. And scooting on through. That takes us to page 38 as it's written on the document. We're decreasing the fund balance by 1,000. And this is for, this is on me. About 2 or 3 years ago, we decided to put out a reward for anyone turning in someone, and someone did. It was kind of funny in a way. I called the mayor and said, will I ever get paid before my birthday? Well, the next day was his birthday, 94 years old. Anyway, we paid that out. So to honor our commitment to it, we need to take care of this piece of it. So that's what's going on here. Just to add, in case you're wondering, we're going to continue the program, but we're going to put some more structure to it and some more qualifications and stuff. It was our first go around. It was successful, and as you saw perhaps from the media, we did have a pretty good tire tape back the other day. Anyway, there's the motion, there's the amendment. Do I have a motion to accept? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 with 1 absent. Thank you guys very much. Next, we're coming into the next budget amendment, and it's page 39 as it's written on the document, and $10,000, and this is going towards, I forget what this one is.
If I could jump in, Mylan, this is the other half of that one on 29, where you put 22.5 in the budget to pay for the sports study.
Oh, yeah, so you're putting it back into the fund balance.
So the 10,000 is going back in the fund balance of the
Very
172.
good, thank you. So do I have a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Collins. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 and 1 absent. So that takes the fund balance back up. Next is on page 40, as it's written on the document, Parks and Rec, $6,000. These are donations for the Frisbee golf. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Collins. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 with 1 absent. Moving on to the next. There you see the check.
The next 4 are all services.
The next 4 are all services rendered. We'll take those up as a package. Do I have a motion to accept amendments as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4 with 1 absent. That concludes the amendments, unless there's any others. Then that's the budget amendments, opioid fund, American Rescue Plan at item B. Commissioner Alford, I believe you asked to have this on the agenda. Floor. All right, the mayor is here to answer any and all your questions.
That one's a changing thing all the time, but anyway.
Yeah, but
Yes and no. It's according to which bucket you're talking about.
interest bucket.
The interest bucket. 22. We're showing approximately 140,000 left in the interest as of now. And what we do is we only report interest from last budget year. So that number is growing as we speak,
Right.
interest-wise. But now that number is subject to change because we're constantly paying some of these off, and there is a few dollars difference. Like, for example, I see one here that's 5,700. It ended up being 5,200. So there's a lot of that in there. So at any given day, that number changes. But roughly that plus growing interest, if that kind of answers your question.
Good. And ARC money period. I'm looking at the list there, COVID response. We got lots of stuff that we've spent money on. Have you got that with you?
The COVID response bucket is all committed, again, with a lot of numbers in there that are estimates, rounded estimates that are, as they come in, are changing, so that one will change. All the buckets are committed except for the interest bucket, and still has some there with growing interest. Your affordable housing is all done except for community services. Your public water is all done, all committed, except for the one you pulled out, the 154 Binker Road. Broadband's all committed, sewer's all committed. We still have 2 or 3 of those septic things that are not finished. Of course, the essential worker is all done. Pretty much they're all committed except for your interest bucket.
I had one question on COVID response. We spent $65,000 at BMX. Can someone explain that to me?
Gosh, that's been a while. Let me see.
I don't know that came before us or anything. That's why I was asking.
Well, if it is spent, it's in your budget. Because I'm looking at the plan, but I can guarantee you it's in the budget if it's spent. But I'm looking up here at, where is that one? BMX pickleball. That one is partially spent. Number 20. Give me just a minute and I'll look it up right quick, okay? All right, the BMX, that's number 20. If you look in your budget, page 107, 65,000 was budgeted last year, and they still have a balance. They spent 16,450, and they still have a balance in this year's budget of 49,265. The 49,265 hasn't been spent as of the 1st of October, probably. I agree, and I think from memory, now this one's old. I think from memory they had another thing to do at BMX, and then the rest was going to go to lights or something at pickleball. But that's from memory.
That's right. That's right. It was like,
Seems like they still had the concession stand roof to do, and then the rest would be pickleball.
I
Pretty
just
sure
think
that's
those
right.
two need to be separated out in two separate items because it doesn't relate really. Because as of right now, there's nothing been spent at the pickleball. Can't even get windscreens. So anyway, just my concern there.
anything else, Commissioner Alford?
No, I had this. I got my totals. That's what I was kind of looking at.
All right.
And I don't mean to be not answering your question on the totals, but they are living numbers that change constantly. As sure as I tell you a number, it'll change tomorrow.
Well, I was just looking at this old sheet. I had written 184,000 at one time total for interest. I don't know where that number had come from.
184 was in the last report.
Yeah,
That's
but
where you
then
got
you
it.
gave me 140 this time.
And there's been, well, the sheriff's gloves weren't in there yet, and the sports study wasn't in there yet. That's two things I've made note. So when your new report comes out, hopefully the first of the month, those two things were not there. And that's why when you asked me a total, I subtracted those off in my head real quick and gave
Okay.
you the difference.
That's good. Thank you.
But now the sheriff's and the sports study gets put in the budget with your amendments today.
Thank you.
If
You're good, yeah.
if there's no other questions on ARP, can I mention something about?
There's one, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
The 154,000 for the water project that didn't get approved.
Right.
What would be the process of, because that's in the quote-unquote water bucket, as we use this term buckets, to move that amount over to another bucket?
That one is in the budget, so if you were going to spend it, let's say on affordable housing,
Yeah.
you all would probably during finance would be the proper, but either way, you have to do an amendment because it's actually in the budget. So you would amend it from line so and so to line so and
Thank you.
so.
Okay. Last question. Well, it's not
I've made note on here now that you've zeroed it, but I haven't made note of where it's going yet because I knew you'll address that.
This isn't so much art money, but it is the Shelby Lane. I know it's not art money.
Oh, Shelby Lane, yeah.
The Shelby Lane, the road department said that they weren't going to continue that. They used a certain amount that we appropriated, but they didn't use all of it. That remainder, do you have any? Where is it at, and is there any plans to use it? Or?
Caleb, make a note and check with whoever at the road department. They had PO'd a bunch of it, not all of it, but a bunch of it, and we need to see if they're through with all their bills. If they are, we need to kill that PO. What he's talking about, gosh, it's in the general fund, but it was for Sheffy Lane. They'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Back to his question, once we kill that PO, all that money would remain in the fund balance for general fund. It's not budgeted anywhere else.
But it was money that we got from the state.
But that's fine.
So it has no restrictions.
Yeah, state didn't have restrictions on it.
I just didn't want the road department, nothing against them, thinking that, oh, since we didn't use all that was appropriated for Shelby Lane, we can move it to another project.
Commissioner Blake.
Please, I'm sorry.
We had that discussion at one of the last road committees before we changed.
Oh, okay.
Changed new committee members, but we did have that conversation with them that money would come back.
Yeah, I know they killed the project.
I mean, it automatically comes back to the fund balance
But
unless
that
you all do something.
they weren't to spend it elsewhere.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they've got it PO'd probably to the railroad or somebody like that they, once those bills are paid, and I assume they are, we need to kill the PO. It goes into fund balance, and you need it in the fund balance, so that's a good thing.
Well, yeah.
I promise you.
But we'll Lori, if you don't mind, we'll put this as an item for the November Finance Committee, just to.
Yeah, and in the
follow.
meantime, we'll find out if that PO has been killed, because it's a very old PO, Caleb, that we keep carrying forward each year. And then since the last time it was carried over, he has informed us that the project's dead, they're not going forward with it. So we just need to confirm all the bills are paid and kill the PO.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead with what you.
I wanted to mention on this other thing for your all's benefit. It's sort of amazing, really. I'll just mention a couple of the highlights. The grant term, 1 year. You guys are funding it budget-wise 1 year. Now it's time to up the 1 year. You're doing it perfect.
Good.
Special account. Look in your budget. It's in a special fund, 111.
All right.
We did all this before they paid these people to come up with these wonderful ideas, by the way. But that's two things. The third one, everything must be approved by the commission. It's all in your budget. The only way we can write a check is if it's approved by the commission. That's three things. One thing I would mention, and I'm sure you are, now that it's time to redo these people and or others, make sure you run an ad and do a formal RFP process, because these 4 people will know to apply, but we do want to make sure we've opened it up to the world. We did that before, but when she talks about the formal RFP process, we need to have an ad in our file that we did that, and then you'll have a meeting, I assume, next month, and these 4 plus others will come and make requests, just like you did last year. You're doing that perfect. One other thing that dawned on me, we have these people reporting, but you probably ought to ask your juvenile drug court people to come in and give you a report, your adult drug court people to come in and give you a report, and possibly even the sheriff's drug fund people, because those are pretty big amounts of the opioid budget that you have approved. But these people come to give a report, those other people probably ought to too. If you do those 2 things and you formalize the RFP process, they basically told you without telling you that you're doing everything great.
That's what I took from it.
I mean, you are. They're
Well,
there because
we mimicked after HCI. We have a process that's kind of unique to Bradley County that we kind of mimicked, right?
you could mimic HCI if you wanted to, but you've made it through the first year, and we started it before the state was even ready to tell us what to do. And we made it through the first year, flying colors, in my opinion. And then they mentioned you got to spend the first year's money. Let me look at that right quick. It's funny that they say that now, 2 years later. But that first year, per audit, we show that 661,000 came in. You know what our first year budget was? 655,000.
655.
So what we were always from day one going by the fact we're going to take last year's money that we brought in, and that's what we're going to budget next year. So the money that we got in through this past year, that's roughly what's in your budget now. And then we spend it, well, then we will have always spent that year before's money that she was referring to. So we're getting there in a different way, but we're doing that. The reporting is about as complicated as the ARP, so that's kind of tough. But again, we started the process a year before the state was ready to tell us what to do. I think we did it perfect. And this committee is screening these people and recommending to the full commission, so all of it's being commission approved. We're spending the right amount of money. So at the end of the day, especially with you, Denny, not being new on the committee last year, we're pretty much in a little bit different way, but we're doing everything they suggest. And they've had 2 years of learning to tell us now what to do, and we've been doing it that way pretty much our second year. So I'm complimenting you all. I mean, the way you're doing it is great. If we just make sure we formalize that RFP and probably get those other people to report, because right now they could say, well, you had these to report, but you didn't have these. They're sort of in-house agencies. Drug court, that's juvenile court. Adult drug court, that's Judge Freiberg's court. but so that we can check that box off, bring them in, have them to give a report, and end of the year. Theirs would be through budget year, but they
That's what I
could
was
give you
thinking
last year's.
is those that are recurring like they are, that Judge Freiberg, juvenile, all those, the drug deputies or whatever, since they're part of our budget process, during the hearings or budget process.
You might could argue that was done there, but we didn't bring them then either, so it might not hurt to bring them in now. And okay, give us a report. How much did this help? What did it do for Bradley County as far as helping juvenile drug court?
Right.
And if that might be a box that we can't check right now, is all I'm saying.
All right, so if you'll extend an invitation to them for either the November or December, prefer November.
Juvenile drug court, adult drug court, and possibly even the sheriff's drug fund.
Those that are recurring.
Those are all reoccurring the way we're doing it now. Not necessarily. I mean, we didn't promise to do any of them. Adult drug court. Adult drug court has a grant that pays for so many rehabilitations, I guess you would say, and we give them some more money so they can do more rehabilitations. So it's not necessarily reoccurring, but we've got the money, and assuming they're doing a good job with it, which we know they are, but have they come and formally given us that report? That's all I'm saying.
And they get so many grants from so many different agencies. It's, yeah. But we'll do that, Mayor. Thank you. All right, you just passed out another document. Is this what you wanted to go over? Or this? Oh, the Duracell? Okay.
That's the backup. I didn't want you to take my word for it. That's where you approved doing that.
What got me was the year 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 80%. Very good. All right, so other business, I believe Shelby Lane was the only thing. I already took care of that because Oh, thank you. I was just checking, make sure you're paying attention and you passed. Public Water Fund, Hewitt Street. This is our good Lori Moultrie report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You will recall that we received an application for public water funds for Hewitt Street Southeast, Lot 16. The application and other relevant documents may be found on pages 2 through 5 of your packet. The application explained that the property owners purchased a new manufactured home and placed it on their property, not realizing that the water line ended approximately 50 linear feet from their property. The cost estimate to extend a 2-inch water line to this property, and to get it to this property and the one past it, would be about 300 feet, and the cost is $13,000. As we discussed last month, the 2-inch water line does not meet the criteria of the 6-inch water line required by the Public Water Fund. However, Cleveland Utilities has determined that the 2-inch line is sufficient for all possible tap-ons to this line, and concluded the water line would never again be extended. Their determination is on page 3 of your packet, so you can read that yourselves. Again, the total cost of the project is $13,000, with Cleveland Utilities funding $6,500. So the question today is, would the County Commission consider splitting the remaining 50% with the two property owners, which would make our cost $3,250, leaving the two property owners to contribute each $1,625 plus tap-on fee plus service line work that they have to acquire. And let me also add that the Public Water Fund began the year at $34,778, and after funding the couple of programs that y'all chose to fund this year, our balance is $5,078. So we do have money remaining in the water fund should you decide to recommend this project to the County Commission.
All right, thank you, Lori, for the update and the recommendation. We'll need to vote on whether or not we want to fund this project or not. So Commissioner Slater, I believe, has indicated that she'll make the motion to fund this project according to the terms that Lori just outlined with Cleveland Utilities and the property owners. And I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Commissioner Slater.
So this is the property that is up by, off of Dockery Lane that we voted to give the easement to for the private drive by the, what's it called? By the Truesdale School.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be no other homes in this area. It is just truly is these two.
Thank you.
just a note, I did speak with Chuck Hammond, and actually I have an email if anybody needs a copy of it. But he did confirm that he's okay with the 2-inch water line, provided Cleveland Utilities is okay with it, and the county commission, of course, it's their choice whether or not to move forward. He suggested, however, that the county consider altering our public water fund policy to give us some leeway, saying, yes, we require 6-inch unless the utility provider recommends, for whatever circumstances, a smaller line. So I did add that to Vice Chairman Winters' legal and legislative committee meeting, and they hope to meet in the next couple of weeks. So I've got that on there for their consideration.
Very good, thank you. You good? You good, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Alford, Mayor?
So at the end of the day, what you're approving is Cleveland Utilities is gonna fund 6,500. We're gonna fund 3,250, and they're gonna fund 1,625 each, right?
That's what I heard, yeah. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 4 with 1 absence. Lori, if you'll help me out and put that on for tonight's voting session so we can get it approved by the full commission, I'd appreciate it. Now, that's item C there. And there's the document that she was referring to, the email from Brian Sales over at Cleveland Utilities. And after this quote-unquote transaction, you said there was 6,000 left in there. This is going to take 32, so there's a little bit of money left over there, but not much.
Just over 5,000.
After this?
No, before this.
Before this, so
it'll
1,000 or
have
2.
a little bit, yeah.
All right. While we're talking about the November agenda, if you'll put on there the 154,000 or the water fund future, what we'll just call it, future plans for that money, I'd appreciate it. That takes us to other business. Any other business from any commissioners? Mayor, Adam, Caleb, anybody? No, if not, move to number 7, communication from the audience. I think we've got everybody, even the media is not here. So our next meeting will be Monday, November the 4th, 2024 at 11:30 here in the commission room. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.